I don't get so upset riding the bike. You know, getting in traffic and stuff. I'll tell you, getting in Santa Rosa and all them cars are parked at the stoplight and you get to pass every one of them, that's always such a good feeling. Sometimes it gets hard, you know, especially in the beginning. When you start riding, you have to pace yourself for sure, but then you also have to like just ride and try not to ride too fast and then work your legs up so you can ride a little faster. Coleman Valley Road is a really nice road, a really good bicycle road, lots of hills, lots of turns, you know, good if you like riding on hills. There's some cars, but when you get on the stretch that I was on between Occidental and the coast, not so many cars. I rode up the top of Coleman Valley Road on before the coast, and that's a pretty steep hill. And I made it. It was getting harder and harder, and geared all the way down. And I just had just enough power to get to the top of the hill, and I got to the top of the hill, and I was really invigorating. And when I got to the top of the hill, because it was a downhill on the other side, I started going faster and faster, and my legs were all rubbery, and I just felt really good that I made it. And this is so funny, as I was riding, on the corner of my eye, there was a ghost flying right next to me, and I'm pretty sure it was my father. He died in 1978, but that was his favorite road, and he was flying right next to me on the side of my corner of my eye, and I looked, and I could see his face. It was a white kind of a silhouette smoke behind him, but there was the ghost, and I started to cry. And when I started to cry, another lady riding the bike going the opposite direction, coming back, looked at me, and because she said, I cried the first time I came up the hill, and I started laughing. And when I started laughing and crying, I started to lose control of my bike. It was such a beautiful day. The wind was blowing, the ocean was out, I could see all the mountains all around, but I was starting to laugh and cry. And of course my dad was right there, and because he was gone but when the woman passed by. And so I came to a turn and I stopped the bike before I went to the downhill to recover, and of course me and the cows, and looked at the view and thought about the day. But that was really one of the best experiences on my bike.
We're in Cascade, Idaho. Bought a donut here yesterday. It was really chocolatey, rich, you know, as much calories as possible, the way I like it. I survive mostly off of peanut butter. I have this big jar of peanut butter and I go through one like, I don't know, every week. And so I just smear it on everything. I put it on my noodles, I put it on my bread, put sardines in it, you know. Just peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter all day. I'm eventually headed to the East Coast. I started in Oregon on the coast, came down. I'm just sort of making my way east, hitting up places I want to see. And eventually I want to end up in the Big Apple. One of the reasons I bicycle is to meet new, interesting people. Living everyday life just in a suburbia or in a college dorm, you meet really nice, interesting people, but there's almost a whole different sort of culture with the biking thing, and you'll meet people that have values that are very similar to mine, and they like to travel, they like being independent, and they're frugal. Well, my favorite travel story so far has been when I met Stu, the old semi-crazy homeless guy, and he came up to me, and I was sitting outside the store, and he started talking. He's like, "Hey, you're one of us, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he invited me back to his campsite back in the woods. And I was a little bit wary at first, you know, didn't really trust him, but I decided, you know, might as well. And so I went back there, and he bought me like a $4.50 Ninkasi beer, and we sat there, and for like 6 or 7 hours we sat there in the dark, like, and he told me his entire life story. His dad had been a Juilliard trained opera singer, but had also been a total drunkard and would drink like, you know, a fifth of vodka a day, keeps the doctor away. I put my knife in my pocket just to be safe. After I started talking to him though, I didn't feel threatened, because I usually have a pretty good intuition with that sort of thing, and he didn't seem threatening. And besides, he was kind of old enough, so I'm pretty sure I could have taken him if I had to. I try and live cheaply and simply at home. I had people walk into my dorm room last year and say like, "Oh, are you not moved in yet?" Because I didn't have very many things. And I like it that way because it makes it easy to pack in and pack out. It just simplifies life. One of the reasons I'm out here is to meet these type of people, to become more like them almost, to sort of absorb that culture and become more of a part of it, and also just to see America because I want to see my country.
Sure. I'm Alex Rondell. I'm from San Francisco, and I'm a bicyclist. And I decided to cross the country on my bicycle was mainly just for me to see if I could do it. I've always ridden my bicycle everywhere, and took a year off from school, and I wanted to see the country, and the best way was to ride coast to coast and really see the landscape. And you get to meet a lot of cool people. 2 months, 62 days of riding. So I averaged 94 miles a day for 3,050 miles. In jubilation, I couldn't believe I'd just ridden all the way across the country. And here I was looking at these huge Washington monuments. I was like, wow, dude. I just went through Nevada and the desert and it was hot. And so now I was crossing the Rockies. I went through Steamboat Springs, and just outside of Steamboat Springs is Rabbit Ears Pass, which the Continental Divide is too. I think it's like 11,000 feet. I'm going up this pass, and meanwhile the snow is getting deeper on the sides of the road, and the trees are getting more covered in snow, and I'm going up, and these little flakes, there's no clouds or anything, but these little flakes of snow are coming down. I was like, oh man, it's just blowing off the trees. And I get up there to Rabbit Ears Pass, I take my picture with the sign, and 5 minutes later I'm going downhill and I'm stuck in this blizzard, complete snowstorm. Couldn't even see 20 feet in front of me. I have this hat on, like glasses are covering me, they're all fogging up because I can't breathe, and I'm covered in an inch of snow and ice, and I have gardening gloves on. I thought I was just going to freeze as I'm going downhill, and I see this shed out on the road somewhere, and I try to get to it, but the chain is locked, or the gate is locked with the chain. And then this guy in a pickup truck stops just ahead of me, so I dash over to him and I just throw my bike in the back of his truck, get in his cab really quick, and I was so happy. It was so warm in his cab. He had the heater on full and everything. Some East Indian guy who didn't really speak English, but he was really nice, and he drove really fast. Just like 80 miles an hour down the mountain, passing semis around curves, and at that point I was like, maybe the snow would have been better. I was really scared for my life, but I really like Nevada, Utah. It's big, wide open, empty spaces, flat, except for when you got to cross the mountains, which is 6 times across Nevada. There's hills 2,000 feet up and then 2,000 feet down and then 6 miles, but I like Nevada and the big open spaces, although it's lonely. And I think of more of it like it's a vacation than riding your bicycle. It's a vacation on your bicycle. I don't have a car, don't like gas, don't like giving my money to them, so I bicycle everywhere and take public transportation. Bart rocks. Yeah, I do the critical mass, the one in San Francisco, and I do the bike party, San Jose bike party, and the San Francisco bike party, and the East Bay bike party. I put a Weber grill on the back of my rack and bolted down there, and then I have the grills, they're bolted down, screwed in too, and I put in the charcoal, and I get the charcoal going before I'm biking, and get the charcoal burning, and then I put the top grill on, bolt that in, let the charcoal get nice red and hot, and then I put on some chicken wings, and I put the top on, and I bungee cord the top down to the bike, and I start riding with the charcoal nice and hot, and the chicken wings cook really good because they bounce around and turn themselves over. Just how nice everybody is on the road, and when you're out on their bike and they stop and they'll offer you drinks or whatever they have, water and food, and generally the majority of, in fact everybody, I've never really had any problems with anybody while I'm on my bicycle. Everybody's been really nice. They invite me in their house, they feed me, they give me money, they talk to me, and generally it's nice to see how good American people really are, the people that you never meet.
My name is Adam Yankee. I really wanted to see the United States buy a bicycle. I really like the idea. I mean, as agonizing as sometimes it is, the pace that you go on a bicycle is very nice because you are actually a part of your environment that you are riding through. You're not just this kind of like external being flying by in a car or some sort of other motorized vehicle. Like everything that's going around you can directly happen to you because of the pace you're going and how exposed you are. And there's something super raw about that. I take great satisfaction when I take trips like these or I do things like this to then tell people that I do things like these because it almost works as an inspiration to other people to think that like, wow, you know, there's you know, I could do that, or I could go out and be a part of that, or I could at least ride my bike, you know, to the store and back every day instead of driving my car. In terms of cycling across America as like a larger kind of promotional thing, I mean, I really don't have an agenda. I'm just doing it for myself, but it does, I would be lying if I didn't say it inspired people to start using a bicycle. When I was living in Ventura, California, I started a bike collective or a bike co-op, the Channel Islands Bicycle Kitchen, and we helped people maintain their bicycles, started a racing team, and just kind of promote sustainability in cycling. The modern world, modern civilization has kind of reached its apex, and right now we're on the decline. There's already been too much ecological damage. The hope for a sustainable future and industrialized society existing or cohabitating is, in my opinion, impossible. But ultimately, the main root of the problem, I think, comes back to resources. I mean, there's 7 billion people in the world, and that's going to jump up to 9 billion here shortly. And, you know, if we're all going to live in a globalized society that's consumer-based, we need to have resources to make consumer goods. And at some point, you can only take and take and take for so long until there's just no more resources left. I do kind of hold a very misanthropic, kind of bleak outlook of my surroundings and my predicament, but I have come to the conclusion that I can really despise humanity but love people, and every day that I meet someone that I feel like is, you know, just a genuinely good human being, it kind of like pushes me forward to just to be a positive person.
My name's Rick Denig. I just retired this winter, and I'm doing what I'm passionate about, riding. Well, I have 3 children that I love dearly. I'm actually headed to Venice, California to knock on my daughter's door, and hopefully she'll be home 99% of the people in vehicles are good people, but there are some mean drivers out there. In fact, if one of my kids said, "Dad, I'm thinking about riding cross country," I'd do probably everything I could to talk them out of it. It's life and death. One curiosity was in Kansas. Seemed like every small town was almost boarded up. You know, the business that is along the main road is where there's any kind of activity in the town. The town is always off that main road, and they're just in terrible shape. And then I found out that they never recovered from the Dust Bowl 1930s. I've been in business for the last 40 years and have served the public in many ways, more than just business, but as a person they can, almost like the doctor or the dentist or someone that they can come in and talk to and discuss their personal lives, and developed a lot of nice relationships that way.
I'm Hannah Rice from Layton, Utah,
And I'm Perry Higginson from South Weber.
living outside. You were just constantly outside, and I love that. And I love especially meeting all these people and making relationships that you would never have otherwise. And just the view from a bicycle is unlike any other.
So I did the Pacific Coast from Canada to Mexico. And then right at the border of Mexico, when I got in the car, I was like, well, the Trans Am's next.
Going through so many small towns on the Trans Am, you get a real good sense of community and how people are willing to help you.
Back at home, you're given all these really, really nice, luxurious things that you take for granted. And being out here, you're stripped of all those.
For me personally, I started to miss my family a lot, but it was really nice coming to the West because they came out and visited me.
People see you, and then they see, you're obviously exhausted, and they come up and help. And it's like back at home, I don't think I would have done that, but I will do that now.
A lot of people just don't understand it. You know, they would wonder why you would ride a bike 5 miles, let alone, hundreds and 1,000 miles.
We decided we had some time and health, and those are things that you don't always have or can get back.
When we started talking about a bigger trip, we always thought we might ride across the country. We really liked the idea, again, of not flying somewhere or driving with our bikes, and so we started to think, well, what if we left from home? Where could we get to? We left Michigan a little over 3 weeks ago. Took a ferry across Lake Michigan near our home, and then went through Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then North Dakota. Then we just got into Montana. We had some tired legs for kind of a few weeks, and still, but I think you kind of get used to it. I think the body adapts.
It's the physical part of it, but then there's, kind of the mental, with the winds and the road conditions, and knowing of where you're going to be at night.
For the last 10 years, I've worked for a bike advocacy organization. And, I think it's really important to have the freedom or the right to safely travel on our public right-of-ways without getting run over by a car. And the people that really affect, I do it because I kind of want to go biking, but we have a lot of people in our community that can't afford a car. And so then we make them live sort of out at the edge of the community, because that's where they can afford to live. And and then they're biking into town on unsafe roads. So they, you know, what freedom do they have? Have you been to Northern Europe, the Netherlands, or just going over there? It was like to me, it was like a narcotic. You know, you just sit in those towns and just see these bikes going everywhere. You know, it's raining, and you know, these old ladies are riding with their umbrella, you know, one-handed.
We've had a chance to meet some really good people on the road and have just extended kindnesses to us. And it's like my favorite part about traveling so far.
Well, I'm just talking to these people we stayed with are long-time Williston people, and you know, so you have all this economic prosperity, but you know, it didn't really make their life better. This woman moved back to Williston to live in a house where you don't have to lock the door, and now that's changed. So like she has kind of less freedom now to live in a small town in North Dakota because of this oil boom. And I would question what the real volume really is. I mean, you know, like remember they wanted to drill on the North Slope, and like if we got all the oil they thought was up there, that would keep the United States running for like 2 months. For the last 20 years or more, we've only had one car, and I figured that we've saved, you know, at least $100,000 by not having that second car for all that time. Like we go on some of these bike tours that are, you know, that everybody drives their bike to a certain location and then does a 30-mile bike ride. We've started to kind of promote people, well, let's ride to that spot and then go for a bike ride and then ride home.